There's no one-size-fits-all approach to creating a successful fundraising strategy and plan.
People are nervous, right? It's a big deal. We're raising $10 million, even if we're raising $1 or $3 million, depending on the size of the org.
Major gift fundraising is not deadline driven. It really is probably the only type of fundraising, along with planned giving, that is not deadline driven.
AI comes on the scene that's affordable, accessible, that can provide insights and personalization at scale.
That's the first core element of this fundraising engine or funnel, is making sure that the top of your funnel, the beginning of your fundraising process, you are in front of the right people.
What do the people we serve need? And how do we open the door to help them get there?
What happens a lot of times is we get this discomfort or this fear, and our brain tells our body to stop.
We can acquire donors and we can automate everything. And that's where I worry, at least personally, around the perils of AI, that it would remove humans from the interaction.
This is the Intentional Fundraiser podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Intentional Fundraiser podcast. I'm Tammy Zonker, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're talking about something that many major gift fundraisers, development directors, and even executive directors quietly dread: discovery calls. You know the feeling. You open your calendar and see discovery calls blocked for the afternoon. Your stomach tightens a little. You run through your prospect list, second-guess your preparation, and wonder whether any of these conversations will lead to a real opportunity. Many teams treat discovery calls as a numbers game. Make X number of calls, book Y number of visits, qualify Z number of donors for the portfolio. On paper, that sounds efficient. In real life, it can feel like a treadmill of awkward conversations where donors sense the pressure long before you mention a gift. I want to help you change that. In this episode, Discovery that builds trust, not pressure, we will walk through a different way to think about discovery. A way that honors donors as people, respects your time, and still gives you the information you need to build a strong major gift pipeline. First, we'll talk about a new mindset for discovery and what that shift feels like in the room. Second, I'll walk you through a simple call structure you can use again and again. Third, we'll look at examples of strong questions and the kinds of responses they tend to invite. And fourth, we'll talk about how to convert your notes into clear next steps with a little help from artificial intelligence. Then we'll wrap up with a quick recap and a behavior challenge you can act on this week. If you are walking the dog, commuting, or working through email, keep listening. You will come away with practical things you can try on your very next discovery call. Let's start with mindset. Most of the dread around discovery calls does not come from donors. It comes from how we, as fundraisers and leaders, think about the purpose of the call. If your mental script sounds like, I have to figure out whether this person is worth my time, that will leak into your tone and your body language. Even over the phone, donors can sense when they are being evaluated rather than appreciated. I want you to try a small but powerful shift from I need to qualify this donor to I want to understand this person's story, values, and timing. You still need to know whether they are a fit for major gifts. You still need to be a good steward of your time and portfolio. The difference is your starting point. Think about the last conversation you had where someone was genuinely curious about you. They asked about your journey. They reflected back what they heard. The focus was on understanding, not judging. That is what I want discovery to feel like for you and for your donors. Let me share a quick example. I worked with a development director who carried a portfolio of about 120 donors. Her leadership team wanted to tighten that to 80. So she needed to get clarity about who still belonged in that portfolio. She approached discovery calls with a heavy sense of, I have to decide who makes the cut. Donors picked up on that tension. Calls were short. People stayed on the surface. Very few meaningful next steps emerged. We reframed her goal. Instead of sorting people, her purpose became understanding who is most ready and interested in a deeper partnership right now. Same functional outcome, very different energy. She started each day of discovery work by saying to herself, "Today I get to learn more about the people who have already raised their hand for our mission." That simple shift changed how she showed up. She sounded warmer, she listened longer, and donors opened up more. Within a quarter, she had a clearer, more qualified portfolio and better relationships, even with donors who did not end up in the active pool. When you adopt this mindset, here's what it feels like in the room. You're not racing through a script. You're not trying to collect data points as fast as possible. You're having a grounded human conversation where both people have something to gain. And that brings me to a phrase I use often. Discovery calls should feel like a conversation you are both glad you had, not a test your donor has to pass. Now let's get practical. Mindset is important, and structure helps you live that mindset when you are in the moment. I like to teach a simple 4-part structure for discovery calls. You can use this on the phone, on Zoom, or in person. Think of it as a flexible outline, not a rigid script. The 4 parts are warm context, curiosity questions, deep listening, and clear next step. Let's walk through each one. The first part is warm context. You begin by expressing appreciation and giving a simple, honest reason for the call. That might sound like, "Thank you again for your generous support of our scholarship fund. I wanted to reach out, thank you personally, and learn a little more about what inspired your giving." You're acknowledging what they have already done. You're sharing your purpose in one sentence. Short, sincere, and respectful. Research on donor behavior continues to show that gratitude and clear communication are core drivers of loyalty and increased giving. The second part is curiosity questions. After your warm open, you shift into questions that invite the donor to share their story and values. I'll give you examples in a few minutes. So for now, just think about 2 or 3 questions that encourage conversation rather than yes or no answers. The third part is deep listening. This is where many discovery calls break down. We ask a good question, the donor starts to share, and we either rush to the next question or jump in with our own talking points. The real gold is in the listening. Deep listening means you pause after they answer. You reflect back what you heard. You invite them to say more if they want to. You might say, "You mentioned that your father received services here when you were a teenager. That sounds like it shaped how you think about our mission. Would you be willing to share a little more about that experience?" That reflection tells the donor, "I heard you. I value what you are sharing." The fourth part is a clear next step. A good discovery call does not have to end with an ask. In fact, often it should not. What it needs is a realistic, donor-centered next step. Examples might include, "Would you be open to a tour of our new facility later this spring so you can see the program you support in action? Could we schedule a follow-up conversation in a few months once you have settled into your new role and have a sense of your philanthropic plans for the year? Would you like to receive a short update every quarter with stories from the program you mentioned caring most about?" You are offering options that align with what you heard. You are not forcing the relationship forward faster than it is ready to go. When you combine these 4 parts, you have a structure that is repeatable and flexible, no matter who you are talking to. Warm context, curiosity questions, deep listening, clear next step. Let's get specific about questions. There are many lists of discovery questions out there, and many of them are good. The key is selecting a small set that you can ask comfortably in your own voice. Earlier, I mentioned the idea of Big 5 discovery questions. Let me walk you through a version of that. You probably will not ask all 5 in one conversation. Think of them as your go-to toolkit. The first question is, "Can you tell me about your journey with our organization so far?" This question invites story. A donor might share the first time they heard about you, a family member who was served, or a program they care about. Your job is to listen for emotion and clues about their level of engagement. If they say, I started giving when a friend asked me at an event, but I do not know much beyond that, you know you're in early education territory. If they say, I have been volunteering on the clinical floor for 10 years, and this cause is personal because of my sister, you know you are dealing with deeper connection. The second question is, when you think about our mission, what part resonates most with you these days? Notice the phrase, these days. People's priorities shift. What mattered to them 5 years ago might not be the center of attention today. This question keeps your understanding fresh. You might hear, right now, I am really focused on mental health for young people. Or, I'm in a season of caring about workforce development. That helps you tailor stories, visits, and opportunities. The third question is, what experiences in your life have shaped how you think about giving? This question opens the door to values and sometimes to capacity. Someone might say, my grandparents gave modestly but consistently, and I want to carry that forward. Or, I sold my business last year and I'm trying to be thoughtful about where larger gifts can make a real difference. You do not have to jump to numbers. Just pay attention to stories that signal ability and intent. The fourth question is, how do you like to be involved with causes you care about? Some donors want site visits and behind-the-scenes access. Others prefer concise email updates. A few love small group salons with other donors. If you do not ask, you will guess, and those guesses are often wrong. And the fifth question is, looking ahead a few years, what kind of impact would you feel proud to help make through philanthropy? This question gives donors room to dream out loud. Some will give broad answers like, help more kids stay in school. Others will say, I would love to help launch a scholarship fund in my parents' name. Both responses give you direction for future conversations. Now, what do you do with the responses? Let me share another quick case example. A major gift officer I coached used a question very similar to, what experiences shaped your giving? A donor responded by sharing about a sibling who had struggled with addiction and received support from a small nonprofit in another state. That experience changed their family. The officer listened carefully and reflected back what she heard. She said, it sounds like that support came at a critical time for your family and really shifted the trajectory for your sibling. The donor paused and said, yes, and that's why I give to organizations like yours that show up when families are in crisis. That simple reflection created a moment of connection. Later, when the organization developed a new family counseling program, this donor was a natural partner. They felt seen and understood. I want you to remember one phrase here. Curiosity is your most powerful qualification tool, and it does not cost your organization $1 extra. Now let's talk about what happens after the call. One of the biggest pain points I hear from fundraisers and nonprofit leaders is the burden of documentation. You might have an amazing conversation, but by the time you get to your database, you're tired, you have 3 more meetings, and the notes you type are thin. Important details get lost. Current trends in fundraising technology are giving us better options. Artificial intelligence tools are getting stronger at transcribing meetings, summarizing conversations, and highlighting action items. Many of them now offer nonprofit pricing or integrations with common CRMs. Here's a simple workflow you can try, even if you are just starting to experiment with artificial intelligence. Step 1 is capture quick. Human notes immediately after the call. Take 5 to 10 minutes and write bullets in 4 categories. The first is story or background. Next is values and interests. The third is signals of capacity and timing. And fourth is preferred communication and potential next steps. Don't worry about making it perfect. Just get it out of your head while it's fresh. Step 2 is use an artificial intelligence tool to summarize and structure. You can paste those bullets, or in some tools, a full transcript, into an artificial intelligence assistant and give clear instructions such as, Summarize this donor conversation in 2 short paragraphs focused on their story, values, and current level of interest. Then list 3 concrete next steps I can take in the next 90 days. Tools like meeting assistants and artificial intelligence note platforms are designed to do exactly this kind of summarization and action item extraction. Step 3 is move the summary into your CRM. Copy the clean summary into the contact report. Add 1 or 2 of the suggested next steps as scheduled tasks. If your tools integrate directly, even better. The key is that your future self or your successor can see what happened, what matters to the donor, and what you plan to do about it. And step 4 is use artificial intelligence to draft a follow-up email. You still personalize it, and you still make sure the tone feels like you. But you can save time by asking an artificial intelligence assistant to propose a short, donor-centered thank you email that references key themes from the call and confirms the next step. Many nonprofits are already using generative AI to draft donor communications, board materials, and campaign content. The most effective teams pair artificial intelligence speed with human judgment and warmth. Here's an important boundary. Artificial intelligence cannot build the relationship for you, but it can protect the relationship by keeping you organized, timely, and consistent after every donor conversation. You're still the one showing empathy, listening, and making thoughtful invitations. The technology is there to handle the heavy lifting of documentation and first draft writing. Let's bring this all together. We started by naming the dread many of us feel about discovery calls and reframing the purpose of those conversations, from qualifying people to understanding their story, values, and timing. We walked through a 4-part structure you can use this week: warm context, curiosity questions, deep listening, and clear next step. We explored a set of strong, open questions that invite donors to share meaningful information without feeling like they're under a microscope. Questions about their journey, what resonates now, what shaped their giving, how they like to be involved, and what future impact they want to make. We then looked at a simple workflow for turning your conversation into action, with artificial intelligence as a helpful assistant. Quick human notes, AI summary, structured next steps in your CRM, and a thoughtful follow-up email. Here are the 3 takeaways I want you to hold on to. The first is discovery calls are less about closing something in the moment and more about opening a deeper relationship over time. The second is a simple, consistent structure will keep you grounded, reduce anxiety, and make each conversation more productive for you and more meaningful for your donors. And the third takeaway is when you let artificial intelligence handle summarization and first draft writing, you free up emotional and mental energy to be a better listener and partner in the actual conversation. Now, here's your behavior challenge. In the next 7 days, I want you to schedule 3 discovery conversations using the approach we talked about today. For each conversation, start with a warm context statement that thanks the donor and names your purpose in 1 sentence. Use at least 2 of the big 5 questions in your own words. Practice deep listening by reflecting back what you heard before moving on. End with a clear next step that fits the donor. And capture notes afterward, and if you can, use an AI tool to help summarize and identify next actions. After you've done those 3 calls, reflect on a few questions. How did you feel going into the calls compared to before? How did donors respond when you slowed down and listen more? And what did you learn that you might have missed using a more scripted approach? If you're a leader, consider doing this challenge alongside your team. You might even set aside time in a staff meeting to share observations and refine your shared question set. Before we close, I want to repeat one more quote from today. Discovery calls should feel like a conversation you are both glad you had, not a test your donor has to pass. If you hold that standard, you will find that donors stay engaged longer, you gain better insight, about who belongs in your portfolio, and you feel more grounded and confident in your role. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Intentional Fundraiser podcast. I'm cheering you on as you put this into practice with real donors in real time. Keep transforming your fundraising so you can transform the world.
The Intentional Fundraiser podcast is a Fundraising Transformed original. I'm Trent Thompson, executive producer, CMO, and head of community at Fundraising Transformed and the Modern Institute for Charitable Giving. The Intentional Fundraiser podcast has been recognized by FeedSpot as one of the top 80 fundraising podcasts on the web. This recognition means so much to us, and it wouldn't be possible without your incredible support, encouragement, and thoughtful engagement. Every listen, share, and conversation has helped us grow and reach more passionate fundraisers like you. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to review and rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you listen. For resources mentioned in this episode and to subscribe to our Scaling Major Gifts newsletter, visit fundraisingtransformed.com.